Perspectives textbook, Module 8, Project 1A. It's called Cairo Consulting, and we are going to explore business options with the what if tools. So I've got my files open already. I'm saving my start file, changing its name from A1 to A2. And we're going to go ahead and start with project step 1. Dwayne Lipinski works for Cairo Consulting in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and as an intern, he's developing a workbook that includes the financial details of the consulting services that the company offers. Dwayne has been asked to analyze the data to find the most profitable mix of offerings using the most cost-effective service providers. We're going to switch to the management worksheet, and we're going to create something called a one variable data table to calculate sales, expenses, and profit based on the hours of management consulting contracted. So we're going to go into cell D5. So sit in cell D5, and it says to enter a formula without using a function that references cell B4. That's a lot of words to basically say, type in the equal sign and click on cell B4. Notice when I clicked on cell B4, it gave me a named range, hours sold management. I'm going to hit the green check mark, and then I'm going to look at letter B. It says in cell E5, we're going to create that formula without using a function that references cell B19. This is the expected total sales for management consulting. So again, equal. And I'm going to click on B19, but you could type B19. Total sales is also the same thing as total revenue. So that's the amount of money a company is bringing in. Letter C says in cell F5, we're going to enter a formula without using a function that references cell B20. So equal B20. Notice this time I typed, but B20 is now highlighted. This is the total expenses, money going out that the company has related to the sales. So expenses could mean the cost of purchasing the product, all of the labor, the overhead for the building, the electricity, all the expenses that you have with running a business. Letter D says in cell G5, we're going to enter a formula without using a function that references cell B21. This is the gross profit. So total sales minus total expenses is equal to gross profit. So we're going to equal B21. And there we go. Finally, letter E says to select the range D5 through G10. We can click on D5 and drag through G10, or you can use the name manager and type in D5 colon G10. And they want us to complete the one variable data table using cell B4 as the column input for your data table. Well, what's a data table? Where do I find it? The word data might give you a hint. We're going to go to the data menu. We're going to come over here to this what if analysis. And we're going to hit the drop down and we're going to select data table. Notice there's two input options, but our instructions clearly told us we want a one variable input. So we're going to, and it also told us it was a column input. So we're going to come down here and I'm going to come over and click on cell B4 as that one variable. I'm going to click OK. And there we have, you'll notice it completed this data table. And it used that hours sold to calculate for 6,500 units contracted, the total sales, the total expenses, and the total profit. and it did the same thing for each of these different hours contracted. So it made it really easy to do all that math without us having to enter all that data. Excel is that powerful and can provide those kind of capabilities. Number 2 asks us to create I'm going to scroll up just so it's at the top. Create a 2 variable data table to calculate the gross profit based on the hours of management consulting contracted and the hourly rate charged. So for the range D4 through K19, we're going to create a 2 variable data table using the hourly rate. So again, we're going to go up to what if analysis. We're going to choose data table. Oh, but wait, I didn't put my range in. Let's do that first. So let's go to that range, D14 through K19. You'll see it selects all of it. We're going to do that what if analysis and data table. And this time we've got 2 variables. Where our row input is going to be cell B5. I'm going to just click on it over here. And our column input is going to be B4. And we're going to then go ahead and click OK. And it completes that table for us. Letter C asks us to do something a little unique. It asks us to apply a custom format to cell D14, to display the text in place of the cell value. So right now we've got a cell value that is related to B21, which is our gross profit. But they want that to read hours divided by price. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to just sit over on top of that cell D4, and it's selected. You know that because it's got a green box around it. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go to Format Cell. It's got a custom format in there already, but I want ours to read hours divided by price. And notice that there's nowhere I can add something, so I'm just going to go and select this one, hours contracted, and we're going to just change that. I'm going to highlight the space through contracted, leaving the quotations there, divided by price with a capital P, and click OK. Now when we look up at cell D14, we see hours divided by price, but if we look up in the formula bar, we still see it's referencing cell B21. All right, number 3, we're going to switch to the change worksheet. We're going to create a scatter with straight lines chart based on the range D14 through F14. So let's select that range. Sorry, D4 through F14. I said D14 first. My apologies. D4 through F14. We can see the range that it's at, highlighting. And we want to go to Insert menu, and we want to select a scatter chart. Well, a scatter chart is one of these with the little dots right here. We're going to choose the drop down, and we'll get some different kinds of scatter charts. And it said line, so let's just hover over this one. Scatter with straight lines, that's exactly what we wanted. All right, so we've done number 3. Number 4, 5, and 5 are going to have us modify that chart to make it more readable, because you'll notice there's a lot of blank space in the chart. The whole reason we've done this chart is because we're looking at the break-even analysis. We want to know at which point these 2 lines cross over each other, sales minus expenses, to figure out how many units or how many hours we need to contract before we're making money. So we're going to come down to number 4. It says to resize and reposition. We want the upper right corner in D15. So I just clicked on the chart and I drug so that my upper left corner is in D15. And my bottom is in H32. So we're already in H, but we're not quite in 32. So now we're in H32, and I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger. I sit in H32, that corner's in there. If I sit in B15, that corner is in there. So I know we've got 4A correct. They want us to remove the chart title. So let's click on the chart. We're going to hit that plus sign that gives us our chart elements, and we're just going to uncheck chart title, and our chart title disappears. They do want us to add axis titles, so I'm just going to check axis titles. We're going to add a vertical axis that reads sales and expenses with a capital S and a capital E, and our horizontal axis title reads hours contracted. Make sure we spell those correctly or Sam will count them wrong. So we've completed number 4. Number 5 wants us to change the bounds axis options. So the bounds are the upper limits and the lower limits of our axes. First, we're going to work on the vertical axis. So I've selected the vertical axis. I'm going to right click and I'm going to format the axis. That's going to give me this menu over here where I can go add these bounds. It wants us to change the minimum bound to 1 million. So I'm going to put a 1. Notice our maximum is in scientific notation. That's 2 million. So I'm just going to make my 1 million look very similar with that 1.0 E6. That's in, again, scientific notation. They tell us to leave the 2 million there. They do want us to change the number format. So we're going to come down to the bottom. We're going to change that custom to currency. And we want to make sure it's 0 decimal places and it's got the $ showing. Then letter C wants us to change the minimum bounds of the horizontal axis. So we're going to select that horizontal axis. Notice I didn't close the menu, it just changed to reflect now what's going on with the horizontal axis. That minimum bound, we want it to be 3,000. And our maximum, we want it to be 5,000. And once I close that 5,000 will get adjusted. And now we can more clearly see where our break-even takes place. Moving on to number 6, we're going to create 2 scenarios to compare the costs of standard consultants and consultants with change certification as follows. We're going to use the scenario manager. So we're finished working with the chart. I'm just going to unclick the chart. And when we use the scenario manager, we don't need to be on any specific cell. So the scenario manager is on the data worksheet. It is in the what if analysis. And then we've got the scenario manager up here. So we're going to choose the scenario manager. It says we're going to add 2 scenarios using the data shown in bold in the table 1 below. So looking at our instructions down here. The changing cell for both scenarios are the non-adjacents B11 and B14, and then we're going to close the scenario manager. So we're going to add 2 scenarios. I'm going to add one. We're going to title it standard as indicated in the table. We're going to have 2 cells for our changing cells, B11, and then it says to hit the control key, and then B14. So it's recommending that we just click on B14. Okay, let's do this differently. I'm not going to type in B11. I'm going to click on B11, and then I'm going to hold the control key and click on B14, and we've got our 2 changing cells. I'm going to click OK for the standard scenario, and then it gives us the information in our table. The variable cost per hour change is 380, and the total fixed cost per change is 380,000, which is already correct. Now we're going to add another scenario, and that scenario is going to be certified. Our changing cells are the same. We're not going to change that. I'm going to click OK. And in this one, our variable cost per hour is going to be 420. And our total fixed charge cost is going to be $335,000. 35,000. No, do not put the comma in there. We're going to click OK. It says to close the scenario manager without showing